Distinguished guests, the 17th Director of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, Dr. Laurie Locascio.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm truly delighted to be here and appreciate the invitation to attend today. This is my very first public engagement as Undersecretary of Commerce for Standards and Technology and Director of NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's an agency that I love and a place that I am so honored to have the privilege to lead. And how fitting that my first public engagement is focused on artificial intelligence, one of the most critical technology issues really shaping our society today. As the federal laboratory with a mission entirely focused on driving U.S. innovation and supporting economic security, NIST plays a central role in advancing critical and emerging technologies, whether it's AI or quantum computing or advanced communications. Scientific and technological advances have expanded opportunities, but also have expanded challenges for standards and measurements that cultivate trust in technology. NIST experts in these technologies are answering the call by conducting research and collaborating with you, with experts across industry, across government and academia in the US and across the globe to deliver solutions to these challenges. Recognizing this important role, the President's FY23 budget request calls for an additional $80 million to expand and strengthen NIST capabilities for targeting critical and emerging technologies. Cross-cutting technologies like AI that increasingly affect so many dimensions of our lives raise a number of new and unique challenges. With the advent of AI and machine learning, today's machines are engineered for complex decision-making that historically only people could handle. And these decisions can determine access to benefits in our society or, if not developed or used responsibly, result in the denial of rights. We no longer demand equity just from each other, but we also demand it from our machines. We no longer only focus on whether technology works, but how it works, where, how, and by whom is the technology used, who is left out, and why, and who is adversely impacted, and why does that impact happen? We believe that innovations in emerging technology areas, such as AI, have the potential to uplift and empower all people. Yet the use of AI technologies can pose risks to individuals and organizations and societies. Globally, researchers, developers, and consumers have expressed the need to understand both the technical and societal risks related to AI technologies. And despite an evolving policy landscape across borders, our scientists are working to provide scalable, research-based methods to assess risks and advance trustworthy approaches to AI that serve all people in a responsible, equitable, and beneficial way. Both technical research as well as tools for addressing the human element are essential to us in reaping the full benefits of this technology. NIST scientists and engineers are working across a number of areas to enable trustworthy AI, and I just would like to take a minute to articulate those. Number one, we are conducting fundamental research to advance trustworthy AI technologies and understand and measure, that's an important word, of course, their capabilities and limitations. This includes developing taxonomy, terminology, and testbeds for measuring AI risks. NIST is developing a resource center of documents, software, and standards, and related tools that continue to better understanding and better our identification of, measurement, and management of various risks associated with AI systems. NIST is also helping to develop devices, circuits, systems, measurements, and theory to support the evolution of AI hardware technology, from laboratory research to commercial application. The new hardware leverages the physics of devices to perform computations while the architectures and algorithms have entirely new intelligent functionality. And this calls for a new system of measurement techniques and protocols. Number two, we are applying AI research and innovation across our own laboratory programs. NIST multidisciplinary laboratories and varied fields are an ideal environment to deploy and apply AI. Our scientists and engineers are drawing on machine learning and AI tools to gain a deeper understanding of and insight into their research. At the same time, NIST laboratory experiences with AI are helping us to better understand AI capabilities and limitations. Number three, NIST is continuing and expanding its work in establishing benchmarks and developing data and metrics to evaluate AI technologies. We are defining and characterizing and theoretically and empirically developing and analyzing both quantitative and qualitative metrics and measurement methods for various characteristics of AI technologies. Importantly, NIST is designing and conducting rigorous evaluations of AI technologies, and that includes developing tasks, challenge problems, test beds, software tools, as well as helping to curate and characterize meaningful data sets. Fourth, we are leading and participating in the development of technical AI standards, and that includes ensuring awareness and federal coordination across all AI standards efforts. In our role as Federal AI Standards Coordinator, NIST works across government and, of course, very importantly with industry stakeholders to identify critical standards development activities, but also strategies and gaps. And finally, as we are doing today, we are contributing to discussions and the development of AI policies. That includes administering the National Artificial Intelligence Advisory Committee that was discussed earlier, co-chairing the National Science and Technology Council's Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence Subcommittee, as well as the NITRD, the Networking and Information Technology Research and Development's AI Working Group, and also founding and co-chairing the AI Standards Coordination Working Group. Notably, NIST is in the thick of an important effort of leading the development of an AI risk management framework, or AIRMF. NIST is taking a collaborative, consensus-driven, open and transparent approach to developing AIRMF. The AIRMF adopts a rights-preserving approach to AI, putting the protection of the individual rights at the forefront of AI development and use. NIST released the first draft of this framework for public comments in March, and the AIRMF framework outlines a process to address traditional technical measures of accuracy, robustness, and reliability, but it also acknowledges the socio-technical characteristics of the system, characteristics such as privacy, interpretability, safety, and bias, which are inextricably tied to human and social behavior. And we understand that these are equally important when evaluating the overall risk of the system. These characteristics involve human judgment and cannot be reduced to a single threshold or metric. This means thinking differently and introducing socio-technical characteristics into standards and measures. This means developing approaches for mitigating bias in AI. It means recognizing that after AI became a dominant part of technology deployment, it's not just about the data and algorithms. It's also about how it is used and how it affects the people in the world. As we've seen all too often, biases can be baked into technologies by negligence or even by design. We've heard loud and clear that guardrails must be built into automated systems in order to protect human rights, minimize the risks, and maximize the benefits of that technology. That's what the AIRMF and our work at NIST more broadly is about. It's about cultivating trust in the design, the development, the use, and the governance of AI technologies and systems. To make that vision a reality, we will continue to conduct research and develop technically sound standards interoperable evaluations and benchmarks, and usable practice guides. But making that vision a reality is going to take all of us working together, and we look forward to our continued partnership with all of you in the community. So let's get started. I look forward to hearing more about the next discussions today, and of course, most importantly, I look forward to the actions that will follow. Thank you.